Good morning, friends. Welcome to the 10th lecture of functional analysis. In the last lecture, we have seen how the quotient norm space is complete as a revision. In today's lecture, we will move ahead towards the next theorem, which are dependent on set of all continuous linear transformation. But before that, we will try to understand how the norm of continuous linear transformation is going to work out. For this, let me share my screen. Yes, this is the theorem we have seen that let for any two n and n dash be the norm linear spaces, b of n comma n dash denote the set of all continuous linear transformations of n into n dash. With respect to these two pointwise operations of addition and scalar multiplication, we have and the norm defined as norm t equal to supremum norm t of x, norm x is less than or equals to 1. This set is linear space. Further, we have also proved that this is a non-linear space, and if n dash is a Banach space, then we have proved set b of n comma n dash is also a Banach space. Okay, we will first try to understand how this norm is going to work. Before that, I just want to recall you a theorem we have proved that a set n is complete. The set n is complete if and only if the collection of vectors x in n provided norm x is equal to 1 is complete. Norm x equal to 1 is complete, right? But this we can replace by norm x is less than or equals to 1. Therefore, look at this theorem. We can easily understand from this theorem that the completeness of a normed linear space is totally depend upon the completeness of this set. And what this set is actually, if you consider this will be the unit sphere, right? This is a unit sphere. This is interior and boundary as well. This is interior and boundary of that unit sphere. Therefore, completeness of a non-linear space depends upon totally the completeness of the unit sphere, right? Therefore, while defining norm of T, here the set under the consideration was taken to be a unit sphere, which is giving us the property of completeness. Now, let us try to understand how this supremum. First thing is, whenever a mapping defined, T is defined from n to n dash. N to n dash. For every x in n, what about T of x? T of x will be an element of n dash. T of x will be an element of n dash. Therefore, if the suprema has to hold, first we should know whether the suprema holds or not. Means whether this set is bounded or not. Therefore, as the set under the consideration is bounded, here we will discuss, right? The set under the consideration is norm x is less than or equals to 1, which is no doubt a bounded set of a domain space n. What about its T image then? As the mapping is continuous, means bounded, therefore it is going to map, if I call this as SA, surely it is going to map this to a bounded set. Therefore, T of S is bounded. And if T of S is bounded, we can say that the norm value of every set, norm value of every vector is bounded. Therefore, this suprema is going to hold. Which theorem? T is bounded if and only if it maps bounded sets to bounded sets, right? Now look at this, how the norm will. Actually, norm of T is the concept, norm T is the concept, we know that it is giving us the distance from the origin. But this T is a mapping. Therefore, how can I find out the distance from the origin itself? Therefore, it was defined with this, right? Therefore, in order to understand what I will do, I will draw a sketch here. Suppose this is N. This is N. Okay. And this is my S. Closed unit sphere, right? If I map T with this, here it is T. If I map, this resulting will be N dash, right? I think this is not visible here. Okay, we'll shift here. This is say N and this is say mapping T, and this will be our n dash. For that closed unit sphere S, say this is a T of S image. Say this is a T of S image. Now we want to find out norm of T of X. Okay, here suppose this is origin of n dash space. Then what is norm T of X? If I locate the position T of X somewhere here. Okay, this is origin. Then what is norm T of X? Norm T of X is this distance, right? Therefore, if I take the different value of X, say X1, say X1 if I take from the set, yes, somewhere here will be a location T of X1, say. Okay, then what is norm of T of X1? This is norm of T of X1. Likewise, we will join all the points of T of S with origin and we will find out the length. Therefore, the first, let it be norm of T of X1. Second, let it be norm of T of X2 and so on. And every value is a non-negative real number. Why? Because these are the distances. Therefore, as this set is bounded, the suprema is going to hold. How the suprema will be? What we have to do? We have to join every point of this T of S with origin, find out the distance from the origin. Whichever distance is supremum, that is maximum, will be considered as our norm of T, right? That is, from this value supremum, norm T of X1, norm T of X2, whichever is giving us the maxima value will be our norm under the consideration. This is what an idea, right? Here I have tried to show you with a simple sketch. Okay, coming to the next important theorem we want to prove today is that the product of two continuous linear transformation is again a continuous linear transformation. Before that, there is one important definition. The definition is regarding an operator. Till now we have seen the continuous linear transformations. Okay, the continuous linear transformations are the mapping we have considered from n to n dash. Okay, now we will consider the special case for a nonlinear space n if we find a continuous linear transformation from n to itself. From n to itself, that is a mapping T from n to n. Right? If this is continuous and linear as well, where the domain and codomain of the mapping are same, then this continuous linear transformation is called as an operator. Therefore, here we denote the set of all operators by B of n. Previously, we are using the symbol B of n comma n dash. But here, as the domain and codomain are of this continuous linear transformation is n itself, we will use simply B of n. Okay, therefore this from the above theorem itself we can say that B of n is a Banach space if and only n is a Banach space. Okay, now let us go to the next definition. For any two mappings T and T dash in this B of n, the product T T dash is defined as T T dash operated on X is T of T dash of X. Why this mapping is going to hold? Because both T and T dash are the mappings from n to n. Therefore, if we start with an element X in n, the first image is T dash of X. T dash of X is an element in n again. Therefore, if I take a mapping T, n to n, here it will be T dash. T dash is an element of n. Therefore, what is its image? Its image will be T of T dash of X, right? Therefore, this is defined in a very easy manner. Now, the next theorem we will prove that for this product T T dash is also a bounded linear operator, provided T T dash both are the bounded linear operators. Okay, let us recall the statement. Let n be a normed linear space. T T dash are the mappings from n to n are bounded linear operators. Then prove that T dot T dash is also a bounded linear operator. Okay, we know that the mapping T dot T dash is defined like this. T dot T dash operated on X is T of T dash of X for every X in n. To prove that T dash is a bounded linear operator, two steps to verify. First, T dash is linear. Second, either we will prove T dash is continuous or T dash is bounded. Okay. First, we will prove linearity. To prove linearity, we will start with two arbitrary vectors x and y and alpha be any scalar. Then we will consider T dash of alpha x plus y. According to the definition, this is T of T dash of alpha x plus y. Okay. Now here we know that T dash is linear. T dash is linear. Therefore, using T dash is linear, T dash of alpha x plus y can be written as T dash of alpha x plus T dash of y, linearity with respect to addition first. Then we will use linearity with respect to scalar multiplication, right? Therefore, T dash of alpha x can be written as alpha T dash of x plus T dash of y. Next, we will use pointwise operation. Alpha T dash of x is an element of n. T dash of y is also an element of n because T dash is a mapping from n to n. Therefore, now we will use the pointwise operation. T of x plus y is of this type. T of x plus y is T of x plus T of y, right? Likewise, using T linear, this scalar can be taken out. Therefore, T operated on T dash of x plus T of T dash of y. Therefore, on the next step, one can write down alpha T dash of x plus T dash of y. Thus, the mapping T dash is linear operate, linear. Therefore, next we will prove that it is bounded. To prove boundedness, we will prove that this mapping T dash is continuous. But again, we know that proving T dash is continuous, it is enough to prove that T dash is continuous at 0, that is origin. Therefore, we will start with a sequence xn in n such that xn tends to 0 as or xn converges to 0 as n tends to infinity. Now, T of xn is a sequence in n. T of xn is a sequence in n, and we know that T is bounded, means T is continuous. Therefore, xn converges to 0 gives us T of xn converges to T of 0. T of xn converges to T of 0, right? Knowing T is bounded, that is continuous. Therefore, the first, now again as T is linear, what is the value of T of 0? T of 0 is 0. Next, we will take S image on both the sides. But S of T of xn is a sequence in n again. Okay. And S is bounded. Hence, S is continuous. Therefore, taking S image on both the sides. Which concepts we are using? Xn tends to x. And if the mapping F is continuous, then F of xn must converges to F of x. F of xn must converges to F of x. Right? Therefore, here T of xn converges to 0. Therefore, as S is continuous, S of T of xn must converge to S of 0. But what is S of 0? 0. Therefore, S of T of xn is 0. We have started with a sequence xn tending to 0, and we have proved that St operated on xn converges to 0 or St of 0, that is 0. Hence, St is continuous. As St is continuous at 0, one can say that St is continuous, and hence St is bounded. Thus, we have proved that if T dash, here it is T dash actually, not S, here it is T dash, we can start up. Instead of taking ES here, you should take T dash. Means T dash of xn, T dash of T of xn. T dash of T of xn tends to T dash of 0. Okay, wherever S is there, we will replace it by T dash because the second operator I have taken as T dash. Therefore, this is T dash of T of xn tends to T dash of 0. But T dash of 0 is 0 because T dash is linear. Thus, we will have T dash of T of xn tends to 0. Thus, T dash is continuous and hence bounded. Therefore, this is a printing mistake actually. This is instead of ST, you should read as TT dash or T dash T. Okay. Next theorem is for any two operators t t dash in B of n, we should prove that norm of t dot t dash is less equal by norm t into norm of t dash. Now, whenever we are finding the norm of a continuous linear transformation or operator, we must use the definition of norm of operator. Norm of continuous linear transformation. There are four statements which we have proved already equivalent. We will use one of them. Okay. Here we will start with the first definition. Norm of tt dash is supremum tt dash operated on x on the condition norm x is less than or equals to 1. But tt dash operated on x is defined as t of t dash of x, right? Now, finding the norm t dash of norm, finding the value of norm of t dash of x. As we know that t is a mapping which is bounded. If t is bounded, how can I write norm of t dash of x? I can write as this is norm t into norm of t dash of x, knowing t is bounded, right? Therefore, here I have written norm t into norm t dash of x. Next, suprema depends on x, not on t. Therefore, this norm t can be taken out. Therefore, it is supremum norm t dash of x, supremum norm t dash of x. But this is nothing but norm of t dash. Therefore, we have norm t into norm of t dash, right? This is very quite easy theorem. Coming to the next example, for any two nonlinear spaces n and n dash, T be a linear transformation of n into n dash, and prove that following statements are equivalent. First, T is bounded. Second, T is uniformly bounded. Third, T is continuous at some point. Now, in this example, to prove the equivalence of this statement, we will prove 1 implies 2, 2 implies 3, 3 implies 4. First, we will go for proving 1 implies 2. Therefore, we will assume that T is bounded, and our aim is to prove that T is uniformly bounded on it, right? Therefore, what is the assumption? T bounded. As T is bounded, there exists a positive constant m such that, here I forgot m. Therefore, this is norm T of x is less than or equals to m into norm of x. Now, to prove that T is uniformly continuous, according to the definition of uniformly continuous, let me write the definition of uniformly continuous here. Norm of x1 minus x2 less than delta implies norm of fx1 minus fx2 less than epsilon. If for every epsilon such a delta exists, then the function f is said to be uniformly continuous, right? Here we want to prove that T is uniformly continuous. Therefore, we will start with any two arbitrary point x1, x2 in n. Then for given epsilon greater than 0, how this delta adjusted we will see later. We will start with norm of x1 minus x2. That is, our assumption is norm of x1 minus x2 less than delta. Therefore, we will consider norm of tx1 minus tx2. Knowing the mapping T is linear, one can write this as norm of tx1 minus x2. Okay. Using this above equation, we can write this is less equal by m into norm of x1 minus x2. Actually, we want to prove this to be less than epsilon, right? To prove the mapping to be uniformly continuous. Therefore, we know this norm of x1 minus x2 is less than delta. Therefore, we have it is m into delta. Therefore, for which value of delta should I select? So that m delta will be epsilon. M delta will be epsilon. For which value? This is epsilon by m. Therefore, if I select delta as epsilon by m, this we will epsilon. Therefore, initially only here it was an adjustment. Delta is equal to epsilon by m. Okay. Therefore, we have proved norm of tx1 minus tx2 is less than epsilon whenever norm of x1 minus x2 is less than delta. Hence, the mapping T is uniformly continuous. Okay. What is the second one? In the second statement, we should assume the mapping T is uniformly bounded, and we should prove that the mapping T is continuous at some point of n. But this is an obvious statement, or rather we have proved earlier, because if the mapping is uniformly bounded, we know that it is bounded. If it is bounded, it is continuous because T is given to be linear. If it is continuous on the whole nonlinear space n, it must be continuous at some point of n. Therefore, 2 implies 3 holds like this. Now the next is, we are going to prove 3 implies 1. In 3, what will be my assumption? T is continuous at some point of n, and aim is to prove that T is bounded. And already we have seen a theorem that if T is continuous at some point of n, at any point of n, then T is continuous on the whole normed linear space n. If T is continuous on the whole normed linear spaces, knowing T is linear, this will be bounded. Okay, therefore for the 2 steps to prove 2 implies 3 and 3 implies 1, we should use the result we have proved already. Therefore here I am not going to repeat those results. Okay, in the next lecture we will try to understand what is isometric isomorphism. Therefore today's homework you should prepare is, you should recall the definition of isometry and recall the definition of isomorphism. Thank you for watching today's lecture.